There's been a couple goofy scenarios that we've had where it's like, it's all good. We just start over. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm fucking nervous half the time when I used to start these videos. Like, you're from this area, right? You are the fabric. You are the art. You are what you're creating.
It's crazy.
Like, that's what I love about the show, for instance, right?
Yeah.
You have this ability just to show a little bit of taste of the people, the culture, the businesses, the artists, right, of a community. Hello, everyone. I am Matt Talbot with Moving Motown. Welcome to episode 3 of our podcast. Today, I'm here with Evan from Community Push in Detroit.
Hello.
Thanks for stopping in today.
No problem, man.
Cool. So, Community Push is a really cool organization. I've been following it for a while now. How did you get involved? What was the origin story? Where'd you come from kind of before this nonprofit work, and how did it all come to be?
It pretty much goes back to when I used to own my own skate park. I've been friends with Derek Dykes, who's the founder. I've been friends with him for a while, and then we started like working on some stuff there at the streets, and we did a fundraiser, and then shortly, like right after the streets closed, I was like, I gotta move downtown,
Okay.
and then I
Right.
moved in with him, and not even no joke, like the first week I moved down there, he's like, we're building the skate park right down the street.
And you're like, I'm sold.
Yeah, I'm like, "Well, you're a roommate, so, I mean, like, I'm gonna, like, obviously help with that," and, like, sounds amazing to me.
Sure. About what time frame was this? Like
That
what
was
year?
September 2014.
14. Okay.
Yeah,
So a lot has happened since then.
yeah.
So how did that journey go? How was building the skate park? That was quite the undertaking, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I don't really know how to build anything if you want me to be honest, but, like, this is a lot different because 'cause I've only, like, kinda worked with wood before.
Hmm.
So, doing the cement stuff was, like, pretty weird, but we were all kinda in the same boat. Like, we had some people that knew what they were doing, they were only there certain days. We were renting a lot of tools. But the cool thing about it is that, like, everybody came together,
Hmm.
like rollerbladers, like BMXers, like homeless people from the neighborhood.
Okay.
Like, and that, I mean, everybody was just like down.
So so you're like, hey guys, we want a skate park. This is a perfect situation to do it. We had the perfect location, that type of setup, right? And then as people see you working, they're like, this is a cool thing. We want to help.
Hmm. And one thing I would say too is the city. So he was also like right when I was moving down there, he was working with the city to pick a location.
Okay.
So there was other locations that were like possible, and we were telling them like this can't work because of whatever reason.
Hmm.
And then that one was crazy. Is that was the best one because we were like, this is in Midtown.
Right.
We live right here, and this is like the best neighborhood. And they were like, yeah, go ahead.
Nice central location. It's
Yeah,
easy for people to get to, stuff like that.
yeah.
So how long did the whole construction take?
Well, it's basically all phases. Like it was never necessarily finished.
Sure.
So I think like the first big couple of things we did, maybe they took like a few months. But it's crazy because once you build something with cement, if it gets done one day, it's like 3 days. Like I think it's 72 hours. It's
Right.
like fully cured.
Right.
So like we were just like, we can't wait to skate.
Right. You're
Like
just like, oh, this one's gonna be great. Like
yeah.
you're excited to check it out. It's almost like a living, breathing art project, right? I mean, if you have the space, you're continuing adding to it, and so
Hmm.
um, so that was in 2014. You slowly kind of work through that and stuff like that. So I'm sure you learned a lot along the way.
Hmm. Yeah.
So as you progressed and as a skate park grew in that, did you learn something along the way? How did the nonprofit come to be? How did what's the story there?
Well, I think he had the nonprofit pretty much kind of in motion right before that, and I mean, I think it was like filed all around back then because Red Bull actually gave us the money to fund the
Okay,
park.
cool. I
So
didn't
I'm
know
pretty
that.
sure back then that's when the nonprofit was there. It was officially there back in that. It might have even been there way before me. I really don't know, but um, from all I know, it just started along then. That was our first major project, but the crazy thing for me is I obviously like to take photos prior to this,
Right.
but that was right when I got my first digital camera because I
Okay.
was taking the very first photo I ever took at the wig was the very first day we were taking down the fences and stuff, and I took it with my phone, and I was like, "I need to buy a camera."
Right,
Literally,
right,
like,
right,
2
right.
days later, I, like, bought a Nikon, like, from my friend, and I was just like that's literally how I started taking photos again and, like, got as into it as I am now, you know?
Sure.
So
the point of where you're a professional photographer at this point, right?
I
Actually,
guess.
I recently ordered a frame portrait that you dropped off today, so I appreciate that. I'm excited to hang it on the wall. Evan's a great photographer. So you've done the community push stuff along the way as far as the social media and the art around it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've been like at that point, I was just thinking like someone needs to document this.
Right.
I wasn't necessarily thinking like, oh, I'm gonna make a book or anything like that. I was just like, someone needs to like take a bunch of photos, and I mean, I do post them on our Instagram, and I post them on mine too.
Sure.
But it's crazy to look back like since that day, like because I can go back to the very first photo I
Right.
took, and then now look at like the last one I took.
The documentation of that journey is cool, right? And I think that nonprofits, businesses, individuals, whoever it is, if you're on a certain path, right? It's cool to document it, right? And it doesn't even have to be necessarily posted on a social account. It helps to do so, right, for community involvement and to generate that sense of community and to bring people together and stuff. But it's cool that like at a minimum to have that picture to show to your grandkids one day, like, hey, we did this thing, right? Is a
Hmm.
really cool thing, which is why photography is so cool, which is why Instagram is probably the most hot thing in culture to the day, right? As you can document stuff. Um, so as the skate park evolved, what like who ended up coming? What how did the community react to it?
They definitely reacted pretty well. I mean, I can remember one thing that stuck out was so it's in the middle of two schools, and one was already closed when we first got there, but the other one like was still had some kids, and they actually a teacher had all the kids write thank you cards
Oh wow,
at
okay.
one point. Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. And then I mean, shortly, I think around I'm not even sure on the exact date, but I mean, Tony Hawk was involved with it. He was going there, so that's pretty
Right.
crazy.
So the biggest name in skateboarding, he's like, "Hey, this is awesome. I want to be part of it."
Hmm.
And so do you think like a lot of neighborhood kids found skating at that point and found it to be a cool thing for them?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically like I guess that's what our overall goal is. Like that's the nonprofit's goal is to, show kids something new. And it's weird because we've had through the years, I mean, in some of the photos you would see there's like so many different like breeds of kids.
Sure.
And like I don't know where some of them went. Like I'm assuming they moved away because we never saw them again. But we at one point, I mean, I can remember giving my board to a kid, like just my board. I was just like, you know
Right.
what, this kid seems to really like this. We don't have any to give away right now. I was just like, my board's pretty. It's like
Right.
I need a new
You
one.
can get
So
a
I was
new
just
one,
like,
right?
here you go, just have the whole thing. But I never saw that kid again. I remember, and I was like, I hope he still used it
Yeah,
after. I mean, because I mean, kids around there, like I mean, it's a different area. Like down the street, like it's like kind of a I don't know, income housing, and like
sure.
we've had some of the kids are like, well, yeah, I have no choice but to move away.
Sure.
Like my parents are like, I
And they
have to
like the
move.
skate park. They're kind of tied in with it and they're like, "Hey, I'd like to hang out, but I got to go."
Yeah, and we're like, we tell them, we're like, I really hope like you still skate.
Sure. It's an interesting thing because, I different communities across the Southeast Michigan area here, right? Like not every community has a skate park, has something to really see it in action, right? Of course, kids know what skateboarding is to a certain extent, but when you see a skate park, when you see people, hitting a jump or doing a cool trick, like that's what intrigues you, right? And you kind of need that showcase to be like, hey, maybe this is something I want to do, or that's the coolest shit I've ever seen. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And it kind of
yeah.
kind of allows that spark and that interest. And I think, at least from looking from afar, right, as far as your organization and community push as a whole, is um, the sense of community and the sense of like the regulars, right? I just a lot of the videos that I watch, I follow the Instagram, I follow the social media stuff, and it's like a lot of the same kids are there every day, and they look like they really like it and they really appreciate it, and it's a cool extracurricular thing that they might not have been exposed to. Do you think that's the case?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's getting along the point of what my personal like agenda of like the nonprofit is getting kids into something else too. It's not all to me sometimes it's not always about skateboarding. It's
Sure.
like, yeah, it's cool that they skate. Not everyone keeps skating. Like I don't skate as much as I used to
Hmm.
anymore because it's like getting sore or whatever, no time. But I
We're
look
getting
at it
old,
and
man.
I'm
That's
like, man, like technically right now my job is photography. I would not have gotten into that if it wasn't for skateboarding. And even like this nonprofit, like I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if it wasn't for skateboarding. So
right.
I'm trying to like tell the kids that. Like
It's
open their
something
mind to maybe try something else, like or just
right.
like hopefully like, you don't need to take it so seriously, but I guess it's because the kids over there, like they don't have a lot of opportunities. And it's like a lot of them don't there's no dad around. So it's kind of like I'm trying to like
Sh
almost
Sure,
advise them.
you influence, right? "Hey, this is where my life took me. This is how I got involved with something as cool as this, and, you should do something similar." It doesn't have to be skating, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's an overlap, whether it's business, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a sport, an activity, music, there's a general overlap of, in my opinion, of getting involved with that stuff introduces you to new things, and more importantly, more often than not, is introduces you to new people. You
Yeah.
get a new friend at the park, and all of a sudden, like, you might go play baseball one day, and you realize you're sweet at baseball, or you might go pick up a guitar that you would have never had access to because you happened to be at their house that afternoon for dinner or something, right?
Yep.
And so then that turns into, like, you become the best guitarist of all time, anything, right?
Mhm.
Or the two kids that happen to meet at the skate park one day start a business together and do something on their own, and to articulate that, I think, is something that you've done with the youth, which I think is difficult. I think there's some nonprofits that I follow and some different cool organizations out there, and anytime you can really influence the youth, you're influencing the future, and to me, that gives your life good meaning. That gives obviously the organization good meaning, and you can change the future of Detroit. You can change the future of the state. You can change the future of the world, right?
Yeah.
Which gets really deep really quick, but I love that about your organization, is that it's so centered around the youth. I think, like, when did you start skating, for an example?
When I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started skating when you were 12, right? And you're still doing it to this day, X amount of, what, 20 years later or something,
Yeah,
right?
28 years, oh no, 18.
18 years. So
18 years
for
later, yeah.
18 years, so for 6 years longer than these kids have been alive, a lot of them, or more,
Mhm.
you've been skating it, and it's influenced your life to the point where you've built a lifestyle around it, right? And so yeah, that stuff even if it's one kid, one person of youth that you're influencing, it's like so awesome and so beneficial. That's why I was very excited to have you on the show, and to kind of chat through it, because I think it's a real cool organization. The wig, where did that name come from? So just so everyone back home knows, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself here. The wig was the name of the skate park.
Yeah.
What does that come
It's
from?
just because it was called Weigel Recreation Center.
Okay.
So, like, well, I don't know, they're kinda just like he's always, like, got, like, funny names, but I mean, I don't know. He just first just came right up with that, and we're like, because it doesn't really matter, like, we weren't super like, "This name needs to be, like,
Yeah.
super marketable or anything like
Right.
that," but it that's what's crazy is so it was an abandoned recreation center. There was actually, like, a building there, and, like, there was, like, all sorts of bad stuff going on in that building, like, there was just
Sure.
stuff everywhere. So when we first took that place over, it was weird because we didn't know what to do about that, 'cause we're, like, trying to have, like, kids come here and
Right.
stuff, and there was kids going there, and there's
Right.
still kids playing basketball and stuff there, but it's like, man, they shouldn't be so close to, like,
There's
all
an
this
interesting
stuff.
dynamic with what the neighborhood what was happening in the neighborhood, and having youth around at the same time, right after school and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I was like, "This is just crazy." Like, I mean, it was boarded up, the boards would get taken off, and, like,
Mhm.
eventually the city tore it down.
Sure. So the wig was the location. And in recent times, so 2014, so about 6 years later, that is now being developed. Is that correct?
Yes.
What are the plans for the future of the organization? Because I know that you guys aren't going anywhere. I know that you're super involved with different. What is the next steps here then?
Well, the first thing, I guess right now it's kinda like, it's winter time, and it's kinda just, like, it's just kinda, like, on pause right now, but I know
Sure.
we're supposed to do an after-school program with the city.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've had 2 different meetings, one that I went to, one that I didn't have a chance to go to because of work,
Yep.
but I think I'm gonna be the one that's actually teaching
Okay.
at the school.
Cool.
But it's not a school, it's like a recreation center. I guess a bunch of kids just get dropped off at this recreation center every day. They get food there.
Okay.
I think it's like a time where the parents can't pick them up because 'cause they're working or whatever, so they, like, or, like, if you can pick them up at 5 or something, they let the kids choose what they wanna do, so the kids can, like, choose to skate.
Very
And we're
good.
gonna build a couple little, like, ramps to, like, store there. But
Okay.
hopefully, the goal is that that will turn into, like, because it's only once a week, we're
Right.
hoping that turns into, like, once a week at different schools all over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could influence more people, right? So
Yeah.
so the closing the park down, obviously is not a positive thing, but in essence, it maybe has forced you guys to pivot where you could reach more people and you could do it at a bigger scale, right?
Yeah, so but there's also what's another thing that's crazy is just yesterday I saw this, but we had a couple meetings with the city about the WIG, like, because it's getting developed and they have to have a park there.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, so it's getting developed in so many different phases that it's gonna be a really long time before the whole thing is developed, but the
Sure.
park is the first thing on their list. And so
Really?
Derek, the founder of Community Push, he works with the city.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if I told you that or not,
Nope.
but yeah, so he is I don't know his title exactly, but he works in the Parks and Rec. Really
Okay.
good friends with the architect. And
Okay.
so now we've kinda, like, convinced him that we need to have something to skate at the WIG in,
Right.
like, commemoration for it.
Right.
And I saw this design yesterday, and it's like, it's more than one thing to
It's
skate.
pretty cool, and it might
Yeah,
be, like,
like
built by the pros
oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
essence, right?
yeah, we're not gonna be building it. Like,
Right.
this design came from a skate park designer, and the whole idea was we were telling them that we can put some stuff to skate you can design stuff to skate that fits in a park without it being, like, in the way or, like, anybody can still go to the park.
Right.
It's just
Sure.
that you can look at the one little thing, and everybody's gotta be nice to each other, and, like, not
Right.
collide with, like, pedestrians, but you can
Right.
make it in a way like, they do it in Europe, like, all the time, so
And I think that through the years, skating has got kind of a bad rap that, like, that's not how it is, and from my experience with skateboarders is, like, most people are very, you know, they're aware that there's pedestrians walking ar you know what I mean? That they wait for a specific time to do a trick, like, unless there's for the most part,
yeah.
99% of the time, like, that's how it plays out, so that could be a very cool collaboration, um, and just a coexisting thing, right? You know what I mean? And I think Detroit has a lot to offer as far as that goes. Obviously, there's a lot of major changes throughout the city as a whole and a lot of things going on throughout the city of Detroit, and I think that those type of projects allow for a unique city, a city around more culture and around more collaboration that maybe
Mhm.
other cities don't have because of their history, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, the goal is this is just the start. I mean, because we have leverage on this one since we were like, you guys just took away our skate park, so
Yeah.
like you guys should help us out and do something else. And I mean, the developer wasn't even like trying to stop that.
Cool.
But now we're like, well, here's the thing: if this works out well, we can do this all over the city
Right.
because the city's got tons of land and like
Yep.
obviously why not? I mean, we have a huge skate park, the Riverside one.
Okay.
Like we designed that park; it's a huge park, state of the art. But it's
Where about
like
is that?
it's Riverside Park, it's, like, just
Uh,
past the Ambassador Bridge.
yep. Okay.
It's brand new, but the thing is, like, we always say, like, we're like, the camaraderie is not the same there because it's so big and everyone goes there and it's just kinda like
Sure.
it's not the same
It's
as,
not as
like, what the
community
WIG
based.
was.
People travel and stuff like that, which is fine too.
The
But it's
smaller yeah, the smaller places are more like that, like, if you have a little thing in, like, a neighborhood,
right.
that's where, like, the real, like,
Right.
people are gonna start, like, learning more there?
Right. It's less intimidating. I
Yeah, that's
know.
what I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like I know back. I'm thinking about all the way back to like elementary school, middle school, like whether it's skateboarding or snowboarding or whatever. Some of these environments are very intimidating, and some kids are better than other kids, right? And it's kind of like it makes this weird dynamic of oh, I'm never going to be that good, or it's like scarier to try because your friends are doing kick flips and you can't even really skate yet. But when you're in a smaller environment, it makes like I'll try that out. Like what do I got to lose? It's only me and George or whatever, right?
Yep, exactly, yeah.
So in an ideal situation, you could see it where you're involved more and more with the city, hopefully the schools, youth programs, kind of all throughout. Whether you're hopping around to different schools or eventually have different parks throughout the Detroit area. And like I said, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of the youth that's been there. I've seen just like they look happy, they look engaged, they look like they're trying new things and constantly improving, and that stuff's irreplaceable. You know what I mean? Like you're changing
Yeah,
lives with that stuff. So
yeah.
very cool. Well, yeah, you got to keep me in the loop of keep the world in the loop of what ends up happening and how things play out because I know the initial response obviously is always kind of going to be a bummer that they're taking away the park and stuff like that. But it sounds like the developer is being cordial and trying to help you guys out along the way.
Mhm. Yep.
Very good. So anything else you'd like to touch on as far as the future where you see things going, or that kind of sums it up there?
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it all up. I mean, I guess we had a goal of maybe trying to have our own like headquarters with like something indoor, but
Okay.
that's kind of like, it's kind of it costs a lot. Like it's not like the first
I'm a believer though that you put this stuff out and the universe will work itself out, right?
Yeah.
If you get more and more involved with the city, it sounds like a really cool thing that actually helps people, which I think the city should invest in. I think that helps the schools, it helps everything, right? And so you take it one step at a time, but assuming that phase works out, then you take it to the next phase, right?
Hmm.
So community push, where can people, check up on you guys? Where can people kind of dive in and support the organization?
We have a website. It's communitypush.org.
Okay.
Um, at Community Push on Instagram. It's
Instagram.
pretty much it's pretty much it right there. I mean, Instagram has like the email link. The website has the email stuff.
Cool.
All that.
And Evan's art on there is very, very cool. There's some good photos and stuff like that. I think those are for sale as well too. I've recently purchased one. I'm excited to hang it up on my wall and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
thanks for
But
that.
yeah, no, of course. The art is cool. The organization's cool. I want more than anything for you guys to succeed. If there's any way, shape, and form that I can help, please, or Moving Motown can help. Let us know. I'm happy to support you guys wholeheartedly because it's a great thing and it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, thank you. Means a lot.
Cool. Thanks for stopping in today. Oh, one more thing. I gotta remember this every episode. If you were to leave the audience with one word, what word would it be? I gotta put everyone on the spot at the end here.
One word. Give.
Give. I love that. I love that. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for stopping in today, Evan. And community push. Check it out back home.
Oh yeah. Thank you.